It was a breezy Saturday evening in a quiet corner of Madisonville, a small suburban town with tree-lined streets and pockets of open green spaces. Families strolled through the park, children kicked soccer balls across the neatly trimmed fields, and a group of teenagers lounged on the benches near the walking path, earbuds in, lost in their phones. The golden sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky with streaks of coral and lavender, casting long shadows from the old oaks that dotted the park. Sitting beneath one of those oaks, 16-year-old Andre Thompson adjusted the cuffs of his black blazer, making sure the crisp white shirt underneath stayed neat. Polished shoes caught the fading sunlight as he crossed his legs, flipping through the pages of a novel he had brought along to pass the time. He seemed perfectly at ease, almost invisible to the world around him, except for the way he occasionally scanned the horizon. Discipline, honed through years of martial arts training, had made him observant, aware of even the smallest disruptions in his surroundings. Andre's younger brother, Malik, was wrapping up soccer practice nearby, his ponytail bouncing with each sprint toward the goalposts. Andre had promised their mother he would wait until Malik finished before walking him home. Sitting alone under the oak tree, Andre's mind wandered between chapters of his book and mental checklists, footwork drills, sparring sequences, and the countless lessons his sensei had instilled in him about composure and patience. The tranquility, however, was deceptive. A low, rumbling growl broke through the park's gentle ambience, vibrating through the pavement beneath Andre's sneakers. At first, he thought it was a distant truck, perhaps someone driving too fast on the outskirts of town. But the sound persisted, intensifying, like the heartbeat of something ominous approaching. He looked up, narrowing his eyes, and noticed a line of motorcycles turning the corner onto the main path. 5 of them, leather jackets gleaming even in the dimming light, engines thrumming with a purposeful roar. The sound was no longer a background hum. It was a presence, demanding attention, and it made the hair on Andre's neck stand on end. These riders didn't simply pass by. They circled, parking their bikes with deliberate precision near the soccer field. Families glanced curiously but soon returned to their activities, unaware of the tension brewing just a few yards away. The 5 men stood apart, dark silhouettes against the amber light. Their faces were obscured by helmets or shadows, but the way they moved, deliberate and synchronized, made it clear that they were scanning the park for something or someone. Andre felt their gaze before he fully saw them. A flicker of unease crossed his chest, a knot forming in his stomach, but he refused to let it show. Years of discipline had taught him one thing above all: control your fear or it will control you. His fingers rested lightly on his book, and he turned a page as if the sudden threat were merely another background noise. The tallest of the group, a broad-shouldered man with a shaved head, nudged his companion and began walking toward Andre. Every step his boots made on the gravel pathway seemed amplified in the quiet park, echoing with intention. The other bikers fanned out, creating an unspoken semicircle that tightened as he approached. Their eyes locked onto Andre, predatory and assessing, as if deciding whether he was prey or challenge. Andre's heart thudded, not from fear, but from anticipation. His eyes met those of the approaching man, calm and focused, and he forced his breathing into a steady rhythm. He did not flinch. "What are you doing here, kid?" The man's voice was low and gruff, carrying authority and a hint of menace. "I'm waiting for my brother," Andre replied evenly, his tone polite but firm. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't lower it. The control in his voice was deliberate, a reflection of the composure that had carried him through countless sparring sessions. The man smirked, exchanging a glance with his friends. "This doesn't look like your kind of place," he said, his words sharp but laced with an unspoken threat. Andre's jaw tightened slightly, yet he remained composed. "It's a public park," he answered, holding the man's gaze without wavering. A ripple of laughter passed among the bikers, low and mocking, but Andre did not react. His hands remained relaxed on the book, though his body subtly shifted into the stance he had practiced countless times. Feet grounded, weight balanced, muscles ready for any sudden movement. The tallest man leaned forward, letting his shadow fall across Andre's lap. "Got a smart mouth, huh?" he taunted, stepping closer. The air around them seemed to tighten, heavy with tension. Andre's mind raced, calculating distance, anticipating movements, and evaluating options. Fight was a last resort. Retreat was impossible without leaving Malik vulnerable. He exhaled slowly, forcing his muscles to remain loose, his mind razor-focused. Just then, a small voice cut through the tension. "Andre!" Malik's voice called out, trembling with both excitement and fear. The boy had wandered a few steps away from the field, catching sight of the approaching bikers. Andre's gaze flicked to his brother. "Stay back," he warned firmly, his tone carrying authority that left no room for argument. The tallest biker's eyes followed Andre's glance, landing on Malik. "Is this your brother?" he asked, his tone dripping with cruel curiosity. "Maybe we should teach you both a lesson." Andre's pulse quickened, not with fear, but with resolve. His stance shifted slightly, positioning himself between Malik and the approaching threat. "Don't touch him," he said, voice calm but edged with steel. The man laughed, a deep, unsettling sound. "Look at this guy. Thinks he's tough," he sneered, exchanging grins with his companions. Andre's silence unnerved them more than they realized. His calm, unwavering gaze carried more weight than words could convey. "You're not going to do anything," one of the bikers spat, stepping forward aggressively. Andre's eyes narrowed. "You don't want to do this," he replied, low and deliberate. The tension cracked like lightning. The tallest biker lunged forward, hand reaching to shove Andre, but Andre moved with fluid precision. His body twisted to the side, avoiding contact. The biker stumbled, caught off guard by the teenager's agility. Andre didn't stop there. In one swift motion, he stepped forward, his open palm striking the man's wrist and twisting it away. A grunt of pain escaped the biker's throat as he stumbled back, fury etched across his face. The other two bikers rushed forward, underestimating Andre. The first swung a wild punch, but Andre ducked smoothly, pivoting and delivering a precise strike to the man's knee. He crumpled to the ground, a cry of pain escaping as he clutched it. The second man hesitated just long enough for Andre to execute a spinning kick to his side, sending him staggering backward, winded. The leader recovered, rage flashing in his eyes. He lunged again, fists swinging, but Andre stayed light on his feet, dodging each blow with practiced grace. Every movement was calculated, every action a reflection of years of disciplined training. A small crowd had gathered at the edge of the park, parents, children, even soccer players frozen mid-game, some pulling out phones to capture the scene. The suspense rippled through them like electricity. Andre finally raised his voice, calm but authoritative. "Enough. Walk away. This isn't worth it." The bikers froze for a moment, uncertainty flickering across their faces. Then, reluctantly, the tallest man gestured for his companions to retreat. They limped back toward their motorcycles, muttering curses under their breath, engines roaring to life as they disappeared down the park's entrance path. Andre knelt beside Malik, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I'm fine," he said softly. "Let's go home." Malik's eyes were wide, a mix of awe and lingering fear. How did you do that?" he whispered. Andre smiled faintly, shaking his head. It's not about being bigger or stronger, he said. It's about being prepared, staying calm, and knowing when to act. As the brothers walked home, the sky deepened into twilight. Andre's thoughts were already turning over what had just happened. The unpredictability, the danger, the lesson. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this encounter was only the beginning. The rumble of the motorcycle engines faded into the distance, leaving the park quieter than before. But the calm was deceptive. Andre and Malik walked along the cracked sidewalk, their sneakers tapping rhythmically against the pavement. The sun had slipped further below the horizon, and shadows stretched across the open fields like dark fingers creeping over the grass. Malik, still shaken, kept glancing back over his shoulder. "Do you think they're really gone?" he asked, his voice small and uncertain. Andre's gaze swept the empty pathways and the surrounding trees. He had trained himself to observe everything, the subtle signs that most people ignored. There were faint tire marks near the field's edge, and the nearby shrubs swayed as though someone had just brushed past them. He didn't panic, he didn't need to. Instead, he focused on one simple truth. We stay aware, we stay calm. That's how we stay safe. Malik nodded, but he didn't look convinced. The memory of the bikers' towering presence, their mocking grins, and the sheer audacity of approaching him stayed fresh in his mind. He squeezed his soccer ball against his side, seeking some comfort in the familiar object. As they neared the park exit, a car slowed near the entrance, headlights illuminating the pathway in sharp angles. A man inside, older than the bikers, dressed in a dark hoodie and jeans, watched the brothers intently before driving off without a sound. Andre noticed the fleeting figure but said nothing. He couldn't afford to react impulsively. His senses had learned to catalog details without distraction, and he filed this stranger away as a potential unknown factor. Back home, the Thompson residence stood modestly on a quiet cul-de-sac. The front porch light cast a warm glow over the brick steps. Andre unlocked the door, holding it open for Malik, who darted inside like a child seeking safety. Their mother, a tall woman with sharp eyes softened by concern, was waiting in the living room. "You're late," she said immediately, arms crossed and brows furrowed. "Where have you two been?" Andre exchanged a glance with Malik. His little brother remained silent, gripping his water bottle like a lifeline. "Something happened at the park," Andre admitted carefully, choosing his words. "They tried to intimidate me, but we're fine." Their mother's expression shifted from worry to something else entirely, pride tinged with tension. "You protected your brother?" she asked softly. "I did," Andre replied, keeping his voice steady. "But it wasn't about proving anything. It was about keeping him safe." She shook her head slightly, as if both relieved and exasperated. "I know you mean well, Andre, but this is dangerous. Promise me you won't put yourself in that position unless absolutely necessary." "I promise," Andre said, and he meant it. Later that night, Andre couldn't sleep. The streetlights outside cast pale shadows across his room, and the distant hum of traffic did little to calm his mind. His thoughts kept returning to the bikers, their laughter, their eyes, the way the tallest one had stared at Malik. Something about their presence felt calculated. Unbeknownst to Andre, the bikers were not finished. Across town, they convened in a dimly lit garage tucked behind a shuttered auto shop. Their leader, the same broad-shouldered man who had confronted Andre, paced back and forth, rubbing the bruise on his wrist from the earlier encounter. "They got lucky," he said, voice low and controlled. "Kid's fast, yeah, but we weren't finished. He thinks he can show us up." One of the other bikers, smaller and wirier, shook his head. "Boss, he's just a kid. What's he really going to do? Don't underestimate him, the leader growled, slamming a fist against the metal workbench. There's something about him, discipline, focus, not normal for someone his age. We need a plan. The tension in the garage was palpable, a mixture of frustration and grudging respect. They weren't used to someone standing their ground, much less defending someone else so skillfully. The leader's mind worked quickly, devising a way to draw Andre out, to test the limits of his composure. Back at the Thompson home, the next day brought sunlight, but it did little to ease the unease that lingered in Andre's chest. At school, he walked the hallways with a careful awareness of every glance, every step, every crowd of students. His friends noticed his quiet vigilance. "Andre, you okay?" asked Jasmine, a close friend, noticing the tension in his shoulders. "I'm fine," he replied, though his eyes scanned the perimeter of the school courtyard. "Just thinking." By afternoon, Andre noticed subtle signs that his earlier encounter had not gone unnoticed. Graffiti appeared overnight along the fencing near the park, cryptic symbols and phrases that hinted at surveillance and challenge. It was clear someone was sending a message. Malik, oblivious to the subtleties, tried to lighten the mood. "Maybe they just wanted to scare you," he said, kicking a small pebble along the sidewalk. "You were amazing yesterday, by the way." Andre smiled faintly, ruffling Malik's hair. "Thanks, little man, but we need to be prepared. Discipline doesn't end when the threat walks away. It's knowing they could come back." That evening, Andre returned to the park, not to fight, but to observe. He crouched behind the same oak tree, scanning the parking area and pathways for any sign of the bikers. That's when he noticed a figure leaning casually against a lamppost across the street. A young woman, perhaps his age, wearing a leather jacket and a look that could only be described as calculating. Her eyes met his for a brief second, and she gave a subtle nod before turning her attention elsewhere. Andre didn't recognize her, but something about her presence struck him as deliberate. Someone else was aware of the bikers, perhaps someone who could help, or someone testing him just as the bikers had. Before he could analyze further, a rustling in the shrubs nearby made him freeze. Two shadows moved between the trees, clearly not part of the families playing soccer. Andre tensed, slipping into the defensive stance he had honed for years. The shadows paused. Then, the tallest one stepped forward, another biker. Andre counted carefully. Only one this time, but he could sense more watching from a distance. "Thought you could hide from us?" the man called, voice low and taunting. Andre's mind raced, calculating distance, options, and the best way to protect Malik if the confrontation escalated. His eyes flicked to the lamppost across the street, where the young woman had been watching. A plan began to form. The first strike would have to be precise. Every movement mattered. Every distraction could mean disaster. But Andre was ready. He had no choice but to stay calm, to rely on his skill, and to ensure Malik, and now the mystery ally, remained safe. The stage was set for the next act, one that would test not just his physical skill, but his judgment, patience, and resilience. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of freshly cut grass and distant streetlights. Andre had returned to Madisonville Park under the cover of twilight, a sense of vigilance settling over him like a second skin. The events of the previous day had left him alert, every sense heightened. He crouched behind the same oak tree where it had all begun, his eyes scanning the perimeter and the shadows that danced beneath the dim glow of the park lights. Across the street, the young woman from the previous evening leaned casually against a lamppost, her posture relaxed but deliberate. Andre couldn't read her intentions yet, ally or adversary, but her presence gave him an unspoken reassurance. Someone else had noticed the biker's movements, and she was watching carefully. Then movement, low, deliberate, caught his attention. Two shadows slipped through the bushes near the soccer field. Andre's instincts flared. These were not random wanderers. The tallest biker, bruised from yesterday's encounter, stepped forward first. His glare was sharpened with rage, the crude mockery of the previous day replaced by a focused, predatory calculation. "Thought you could escape us?" The man called, voice carrying across the park. The words held a sharp edge, a promise of confrontation. Andre stood, careful not to reveal panic or hesitation. His feet settled firmly on the gravel path, every muscle poised. "I didn't escape," he said evenly. "I'm just waiting for you to leave." The biker laughed, dark and low. "You really think a kid can stand against us? Last time was luck. This time, we finish it." Andre's heart raced, not from fear, but from the readiness that only comes from preparation and discipline. He had studied the movements, the posture, the rhythm of his opponents before. This was no different. He would meet aggression with control, chaos with strategy. As the biker advanced, Andre noticed a subtle shift in the shadows behind him. Another figure emerged, this time clearly one of the gang, smaller, wiry, moving with cat-like precision. Andre quickly calculated the angles. If he focused on the larger opponent, the smaller one could flank him. He had to remain mobile, unpredictable. The larger biker lunged first, swinging a fist with brute force. Andre stepped lightly to the side, letting the momentum carry the man past him. Then, in one fluid motion, he delivered a twisting palm strike to the man's wrist, forcing him to stumble backward in surprise. The precision of the move sent a message. Andre's skill was deliberate, honed, not reckless. The smaller biker rushed forward, attempting a low kick to Andre's side. Andre pivoted on his heel, narrowly avoiding the blow, and swept his leg in a low arc, tripping the attacker. The man crashed into the gravel, a grunt escaping him. Andre's stance remained calm, measured, ready for the next move. From across the field, the mysterious woman finally stepped forward. Andre noticed her hands, clenched but controlled. She didn't intervene yet, but her presence was a silent signal. He was not entirely alone. Suddenly, a rustling behind the lamppost drew Andre's attention. More bikers emerged from the shadows. 3 more, masked and silent. The ambush had been larger than he anticipated. Andre's mind raced, recalculating distances, angles, and options. One of the new arrivals lunged toward Malik, who had crept a few steps closer out of curiosity. Andre moved instantly, placing himself between his brother and the threat. His movement was smooth, almost seamless, like water flowing around rocks. "Stay back," Andre shouted, voice firm, resonant with authority. His presence, calm yet commanding, created a pause in the attacker's momentum. They hesitated, glancing at one another, unaccustomed to such resolve from someone so young. Andre's eyes flicked to the lamppost. The woman made a subtle gesture, a toss of her jacket that distracted one of the bikers. In the same instant, Andre struck, using a precise kick to the attacker's knee, sending him sprawling. The move was quick, unexpected, and perfectly timed. The remaining bikers recovered, but the tide had shifted. Andre's calm composure unnerved them. They expected fear, submission, or reckless retaliation, but not discipline, not precision. The fight became a dance of calculated strikes and evasions. Andre used the environment to his advantage. Shadows for cover, lampposts as barriers, loose gravel to disrupt footing. He didn't waste energy on brute force. Instead, he focused on control, redirecting attacks, twisting joints, maintaining distance. One biker swung wildly, aiming for Andre's torso. Andre ducked, letting the man's momentum carry him past. then jabbed his elbow into the man's side as he passed, exploiting the opening perfectly. Another tried a flanking maneuver, but Andre pivoted, delivering a spinning kick to the ribs, staggering him. Every move demonstrated skill born of discipline, not rage. The woman finally intervened directly. She moved like a shadow, intercepting one of the bikers attempting to encircle Andre. With a swift maneuver, she sent him crashing into a tree trunk. Andre barely had time to nod in acknowledgement before returning to the central confrontation. The lead biker, furious and breathing heavily, roared as he charged. Andre sidestepped, and the man crashed into his own companions. The chaos worked to Andre's advantage. Every time aggression surged, Andre remained calm, precise, and unyielding. A few late-night joggers and dog walkers had stopped at the park entrance, witnessing the spectacle. Phones raised, recording every moment. Some whispered in disbelief, others murmured encouragement. The tension hung thick in the air, a mix of danger, awe, and suspense. Malik, hidden behind a nearby bench, watched in terror and amazement. How is he doing this? He whispered, clutching the soccer ball to his chest. Andre's mind didn't dwell on awe or fear. He focused on his breathing, his stance, the rhythm of movement. His father's lessons and his sensei's discipline guided him like a silent conductor orchestrating a perfect symphony of defense. The lead biker, realizing his team was faltering, took a desperate gamble. He lunged at Andre with both fists, swinging recklessly. Andre, anticipating the attack, sidestepped and delivered a palm strike to the solar plexus. The man doubled over, winded. Simultaneously, the woman kicked another attacker's leg out from under him, sending him sprawling. Andre moved quickly, delivering a controlled yet decisive strike to the final standing biker's shoulder, forcing him to stumble backward into a tree. For a moment, silence fell. The bikers, bruised, winded, and outmaneuvered, exchanged looks of disbelief. They had expected a fight of intimidation and fear, not a battle of discipline, skill, and precision executed by someone half their size. The lead biker, wheezing, finally barked orders. "Fall back," he spat, signaling the others to retreat. Engines roared to life, tires screeching as they disappeared into the night. Aftermath. Andre lowered his stance, chest rising and falling steadily. Malik ran to him, eyes wide with admiration and concern. "Andre, you were amazing, but they were huge." Andre knelt, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. "It's not about being huge," he said softly. "It's about knowing your worth, being disciplined, and standing up when it matters most." The mysterious woman approached, removing her hood. Her dark hair framed a determined face, her eyes reflecting both respect and curiosity. "You did well," she said. "Most wouldn't have lasted half this long." Andre nodded, not fully trusting words yet, but grateful for her presence. He had survived the first major confrontation, but he knew in his heart that the bikers would return. The night had been a test, one of skill, patience, and strategy, but it was far from over. The night deepened over Madisonville Park, shadows stretching across the fields and pathways like dark fingers. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and faint exhaust from the retreating motorcycles. Andre Thompson had barely processed the adrenaline from the earlier confrontation when a subtle, unsettling movement caught his eye. A flicker of motion behind the pavilion where the soccer equipment was stored. He crouched behind a low fence, silently assessing the surroundings. Malik, clutching his soccer ball, remained close, eyes wide but trusting Andre's judgment. The mysterious woman had stepped aside, observing from a distance, as if giving Andre the space to act but ready to intervene at a moment's notice. Andre's trained instincts told him something wasn't right. The bikers weren't done. They had regrouped somewhere nearby, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. His mind raced, calculating distances, escape routes, and potential traps. He knew that rushing headlong would be reckless. Discipline, patience, and awareness would be his weapons tonight. From the shadows, a small, dark figure emerged. Not one of the bikers, but a younger teen, roughly Malik's age. He stumbled slightly as he approached, clutching a phone in one hand and a crumpled flyer in the other. "Hey, you're Andre, right?" the boy asked nervously. "I saw what happened at the park. Those guys, they're trouble. They've been planning this for weeks." Andre's eyebrows knit together. "Planning what?" he asked cautiously. "They target anyone who stands out," the boy explained. "They watch, they wait, then they strike. You're lucky to have handled them tonight." His voice quivered, a mixture of fear and awe. "But they're not leaving it here. They have someone else coming. Someone bigger." Andre's jaw tightened. The ambush was escalating. This wasn't just about yesterday or the initial confrontation. It was part of a larger plan to intimidate anyone who dared resist. As if on cue, the first biker, recovering from his previous injuries, appeared again, followed by two new accomplices. They had returned under cover of night, using the shadows to mask their approach. Andre quickly noted the terrain. Uneven gravel, scattered park benches, low-hanging branches from the oaks, and a small creek cutting across the eastern side of the park. Each obstacle could be an advantage or a hazard depending on how he used it. Andre adjusted his stance, signaling Malik to stay back near a large oak. He remembered the lessons from his martial arts training. Never fight in the open without using the environment to your benefit. A well-timed movement could topple even the most aggressive opponent, and a distraction could turn the tide in his favor. The bikers advanced, their laughter and taunts echoing across the park. "Thought you could hide from us, kid?" the tallest sneered, his bruised wrist already healing. "This time, there's no lucky escape." Andre's eyes flicked to the mysterious woman. She gave a subtle nod, indicating she was ready. Andre knew he wouldn't be alone in this fight. Together, they could outmaneuver the attackers. The first biker charged directly at Andre, fists swinging with raw aggression. Andre sidestepped, letting the man's momentum carry him forward, and used a low kick to unbalance him against a nearby bench. The biker stumbled but quickly recovered, more furious than before. The second attacker, smaller but quicker, attempted to flank Andre from the left. Andre pivoted, twisting out of reach, and delivered a calculated strike to the man's ribs, sending him stumbling backward into a tree. Every movement was precise, a blend of agility and calculated control. But then came the third twist. The tallest biker produced a chain from his jacket, swinging it menacingly as he advanced. Andre's eyes widened slightly. This was new. A chain was unpredictable, capable of inflicting serious damage if misjudged. He couldn't fight recklessly. Instead, he stayed mobile, keeping the chain between him and the attacker while assessing openings. The mysterious woman acted with lightning speed, intercepting one of the flanking bikers with a swift kick that sent him sprawling. Her intervention bought Andre precious seconds to focus on the chain-wielding threat. Andre realized the bikers had come prepared for a prolonged encounter. They weren't just seeking intimidation. They wanted to break his composure, test his limits, and assert dominance. Malik, watching from his hiding spot, felt a mix of fear and admiration. "He's incredible," Malik whispered, clutching the soccer ball. Andre's mind was clear, his movements deliberate. Each strike, each dodge, was a lesson in discipline. Never let emotion dictate action. The attackers underestimated him, assuming youth equaled weakness. But Andre's years of training allowed him to anticipate moves before they happened, turning aggression against itself. The biker with the chain swung again, the metallic link slicing through the air. Andre rolled under the arc, coming up behind the man to deliver a swift, precise strike to the back of his knee. The man collapsed, howling, the chain clattering to the gravel. The remaining bikers hesitated. Andre's calm precision had unbalanced them, disrupted their rhythm. They had expected chaos and submission, not strategy and foresight. As the bikers regrouped, Andre's eyes caught movement near the creek. A silhouette emerged, a figure he hadn't noticed before. Taller than the others, with a commanding presence, the newcomer was dressed in dark tactical gear, and a helmet obscured their face. The mysterious woman tensed. "That's the one they were talking about," she murmured. "The guy they called the Enforcer." Andre's pulse quickened. The stakes had just doubled. This wasn't a simple test anymore. It was a calculated escalation. He had to protect Malik, neutralize the immediate threats, and prepare for the arrival of this new, dangerous adversary. The Enforcer stepped forward, silent and deliberate, observing Andre like a predator assessing prey. "Impressive," a voice hissed from behind the helmet. "But impressive doesn't last forever." Andre tightened his stance. Calm, focused, precise, these were his weapons. He knew this confrontation would test everything he had learned, pushing his discipline, agility, and mental acuity to the limit. The park seemed to shrink around him. Every shadow, every branch, every rustle in the underbrush amplifying the tension. The fight was no longer just about defending himself. It was about proving that skill, preparation, and courage could overcome brute force and intimidation, even against overwhelming odds. The night had deepened into near-complete darkness, the park now a shadowed battlefield of oak trees, gravel paths, and scattered equipment. A faint mist hovered above the grass, swirling around the dim lamplights like restless spirits. Andre Thompson crouched behind a low stone wall, muscles coiled, senses alert. Malik huddled behind him, eyes wide and heart racing, clutching the soccer ball like a shield. Across the field, the bikers had regrouped, their leader's voice slicing through the night air. "Bring him down. The Enforcer will handle the rest." Andre's eyes locked on the tall, helmeted figure stepping forward from the shadows. The Enforcer. Broad-shouldered, silent, precise. Every movement was calculated, like a predator stalking its prey. Andre knew instinctively this was no ordinary opponent. Every misstep could be fatal. The Enforcer moved first, closing distance with measured strides. Andre met him with a steady stance, weight balanced, breathing controlled. The first strike came in a blur, a swinging punch aimed at Andre's torso. Andre sidestepped, pivoting fluidly, his movements almost a blur. Using the attacker's momentum, he delivered a precise strike to the Enforcer's knee, forcing him to stumble. From the corner of his eye, Andre saw the remaining bikers closing in. One lunged from the right, attempting a low sweep. Andre jumped over the attack, landing lightly and spinning to deliver a rapid kick to the man's midsection. The impact sent the biker backward into a tree, where he crumpled, winded. The Enforcer recovered instantly, using the moment to press the attack again. This time, Andre feinted a step to the left, baiting the Enforcer forward, then twisted to the side, striking with an open palm to the solar plexus. The sound of the hit echoed across the park like a drumbeat in the night. The mysterious woman darted forward, her movements silent and lethal, intercepting a biker attempting to flank Andre. With a swift kick and elbow strike, she sent him sprawling into a bush, creating just enough space for Andre to focus on the Enforcer. Andre's mind worked like a chessboard, every step a calculated move. He led the enforcer across uneven terrain, over gravel, around benches, past a low chain-link fence, and used every obstacle to slow down the attacker. When the enforcer swung a heavy punch, Andre ducked under a tree branch, letting the momentum carry the man forward, then delivered a spinning kick to his side. The mist clung to the grass, creating an eerie advantage. Andre could see shadows flicker, but he stayed grounded, tracking every subtle movement. This wasn't about brute strength. It was about discipline, timing, and anticipation. Malik, hiding behind a tree, watched with awe. "He's like a shadow," he whispered. "Moving, dodging, striking. I've never seen anything like it." The enforcer suddenly drew a small, collapsible baton, swinging it with precision. The metallic clang against Andre's forearm rang out sharply. This weapon was new, unpredictable. Andre barely deflected it, stepping back to avoid a strike that could have easily broken bones. The enforcer pressed, swinging the baton with deadly rhythm. Andre realized that patience was now more critical than ever. Every feint, every dodge had to be perfectly timed. One miscalculation and Malik, and perhaps the mysterious ally, could be exposed to danger. Using a subtle feint, Andre led the enforcer toward a small creek running along the edge of the park. He kicked loose gravel underfoot at the exact moment the enforcer took a step, causing him to slip and lose balance. Andre didn't strike immediately. Instead, he waited for the perfect opening. The enforcer regained footing, frustration evident even through the helmet. Andre's calm and controlled movements were infuriating. The lead biker shouted instructions from the shadows, but their precision was faltering. Their earlier coordination had been disrupted by Andre's disciplined approach. Andre seized the moment. He executed a spinning back kick to the enforcer's chest, sending him stumbling backward into the shallow creek. The splash echoed through the park. Andre followed immediately, maintaining distance while keeping Malik safe behind him. The remaining bikers hesitated. They had expected fear, not strategic resistance. They had assumed a single powerful figure could intimidate and dominate, but Andre's patience, anticipation, and skill had turned the tide. The mysterious woman stepped beside Andre, moving in sync with him, silently taking down the remaining bikers with precise strikes. Together, they were a coordinated force, Andre's disciplined offense and her agile counterattacks creating an unstoppable flow. The enforcer rose from the creek, water dripping from his helmet. Rage radiated from him. He charged Andre with a speed that belied his size. Andre held his ground, ready. The first swing of the baton was blocked, followed by a swift elbow strike from Andre to the side of the enforcer's head. The enforcer staggered but did not fall. Andre feinted left, pivoted right, and with a fluid combination of palm strike and low kick, he sent the enforcer crashing against a tree. The force echoed across the empty park. Andre's calm voice cut through the night. "Enough. Leave." For a tense moment, the enforcer froze, then slowly rose, gripping the baton. He assessed Andre, the mysterious woman, and the chaos of bikers now incapacitated around him. A low, guttural growl escaped him. "This isn't over," he hissed, before retreating into the shadows, disappearing into the night. The remaining bikers, battered and demoralized, followed, retreating toward their motorcycles. Engines roared, then faded, leaving only the distant hum of traffic and the rustling of leaves. Andre lowered his stance, muscles tense but controlled. He turned to Malik, who ran forward, eyes wide with awe and worry. "Andre, you did it. You actually did it." Andre knelt, placing a steady hand on his brother's shoulder. "It's not about winning or fighting. he said calmly. It's about discipline, preparation, and knowing when to act. That's what kept us safe tonight. The mysterious woman approached, removing her helmet. Her face revealed determination, respect, and a faint smile. You handled yourself well. Most adults would have faltered, she said softly. You've got skill and you've got heart. Don't let anyone underestimate you again. Malik looked between them, still in awe. Can we go home now? He asked quietly. Andre smiled faintly. Yeah, little man. Let's go home. As they walked back, Andre's mind reflected on the night's events. The bikers would return, undoubtedly, but now he understood something profound. True strength was not measured by brute force, size, or intimidation. It was measured by preparation, patience, discipline, and the courage to protect what mattered most. The first light of dawn crept over Madisonville Park, painting the dew-covered grass in shades of gold and silver. Andre Thompson and Malik walked quietly along the familiar paths, their footsteps soft against the gravel. The night's chaos felt like a distant echo, replaced by the calm and serenity of the morning. Malik clutched his soccer ball, still wide-eyed but reassured. Andre, I can't believe what happened, he said quietly. You fought all those bikers? And that big guy with the helmet? Andre smiled faintly, his mind still replaying the events. It's not about being the biggest or the strongest, he said. It's about knowing your limits, staying calm, and acting when it matters most. That's what kept us safe. Malik nodded slowly, processing the lesson. So, we're safe now? For now, Andre admitted, glancing toward the shadows where the enforcer had disappeared the night before. But some people don't back down easily. And that's okay, we handle what comes, one step at a time. Back home, the Thompson residence looked peaceful under the early morning sun. Their mother was on the porch, sipping coffee, eyes tired but relieved. She looked up as the boys approached. You both look like you've been through a war, she said, her voice gentle but laced with concern. Andre exchanged a glance with Malik. We're fine, he said, keeping his tone calm. But we need to be careful. Some people don't take enough for an answer. She studied her eldest son, noticing the calm resolve in his posture and the quiet confidence in his gaze. Andre, I know you protected Malik, and I'm proud. But promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. There's a difference between courage and recklessness. I promise, Mom, Andre said, and for the first time, allowed himself a small smile. Tonight taught me a lot. About courage. About discipline. About standing up for what matters. As Malik got ready for breakfast, Andre lingered by the window, looking out toward the park. The empty field, the familiar oak tree, and the lampposts where the mysterious woman had observed the fight. All of it felt like a quiet battlefield frozen in time. Andre reflected on the night's lessons. Strength was not about size or intimidation. Discipline and preparation were more powerful than fear and aggression. Protecting those you care about sometimes meant confronting danger, but always with strategy, not impulsive force. True courage was acting despite fear, not in the absence of it. Malik joined him at the window, eyes still filled with awe. Andre, do you think they'll come back? Andre's gaze shifted from the park to his brother. He knelt down, placing a steady hand on Malik's shoulder. If they do, we'll be ready, he said firmly. But right now, we focus on staying safe, learning, and being ready. That's what matters. As they walked into the kitchen, the sunlight catching the edges of the Thompson home, a subtle notification on Andre's phone drew his attention. A message from an unknown number appeared. Impressive, but the real test is yet to come. Andre's jaw tightened slightly. He showed the message to Malik. See? Discipline and preparation only get you so far. Some people don't quit. But that doesn't mean we stop standing our ground. Malik's eyes widened. So, there's more. Andre nodded. There's always more. But tonight we survived. We learned. And we'll be stronger for it. The Thompson brothers sat down to breakfast, the aroma of toast and coffee filling the kitchen. Their mother, though still concerned, allowed a faint smile to grace her face. The quiet morning was a stark contrast to the chaos of the night, but Andre felt a deep sense of purpose. He knew the world wasn't fair, and danger could appear anywhere. But he also knew that discipline, preparation, and courage could tip the scales. And somewhere, deep in the shadows beyond Madisonville Park, the enforcer and his gang waited, watching, calculating, planning their next move. Andre didn't fear them. He respected them as challenges to be met, not monsters to be cowered before. The sun rose higher, scattering the lingering mist, casting light over the field, the oak tree, and the lampposts that had been witnesses to the night's trial. Andre placed a hand on Malik's shoulder once more. Remember, little man, courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about standing up, even when fear is there. Malik nodded, a newfound confidence shining in his eyes. I get it, Andre. I really do. Andre smiled. Good. That's the start of knowing your worth. And the world has a way of testing it. As they finished breakfast, the city of Madisonville awakened, unaware of the silent battles fought in its shadows. Andre knew this wasn't the end. But for now it was enough.